Why do they need Apni Bus?
So, right now, entire business runs completely offline. And because of that, as a bus operator, I do not have any control. I do not have any visibility. So with our Apni Bus solution, we have digitized every single layer of those operations.
Now, just like Uber, I don't have to go to a small town at the bus stop in Rajasthan and wait for 4 hours for the buses, because these buses can also be very late.
Just think like an Uber, but for Bharat.
Why did you decide to do this?
I've seen myself, but a lot of other people also struggling with their bus travel thing, right? So idea came with that, can I solve this particular problem statement?
So what did you do first?
I knew the first thing I need to do is that I need to run a bus. It's just I was not the driver, but everything else I was.
Okay, I'm sure you were the conductor too.
I was the first bus conductor also. I used to sell the ticket. I stand at the bus stand, shouted Jaipur, Jaipur, Jaipur also. Because the idea behind it was very simple. I wanted to create a bus experience for the passenger which is purely frictionless.
Hi guys, thanks for listening to Zero to Momentum. I'm Raj. Today I'm talking to Sumit Gupta, founder of Apni Bus. Again, a quick reminder, Zero to Momentum is about rebuilding day zero when the startup first got started and talking through the early tactical lessons. Sumit, thanks for doing this. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me.
So let's start with what is Apni Bus?
So Apni Bus does not run any bus by itself. Apni Bus actually empowers millions of buses which actually runs on India today on the road. We empower them with our digital platform, digital solutions like online ticketing solution, smart ticketing solution, GPS, FASTag, fuel, and 10 other solutions. Yeah.
Okay, so you have built this for the bus owner and operator.
Exactly.
So if let's say I run 18 buses, and I'm guessing India has 700,000 buses,
Almost
7 lakh
a million.
buses,
Almost a million.
almost a million buses, which is 10 lakh buses, and this is run by a lot of small business owners.
Exactly.
And Apni Bus is built for them. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so but how does this help them? Right now they are running buses anyway. People are buying tickets anyway. So why do they need Apni Bus?
So, right now, entire business runs completely offline. For example, if I'm a bus owner, so technically I'm a bus owner, but I'm not running buses myself, It's my conductor who is running my entire business day to day, right? And everything is happening like from like ticketing to expenses for fuel filling, everything is happening completely offline with the manual cash, right? And because of that, as a bus operator, I do not have any control. I do not have any visibility. All I have with me is the words what my conductor tells me, right?
Okay.
So with our Apni Bus solution, we have digitized every single layer of those operations, not only for the bus operator for the sake of it, but for the end consumer also. But for the bus operator, every layer has become digitized. Now he has the entire visibility and control at the single of his mobile app, where he can actually see the entire thing in real time. He can control his business, he can control his expenses, and all those things. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say digitize and he can see in real time,
Yeah.
what does he see? Does he see ticket sales in real time, and how exactly? Can you walk through the
Of course,
solution?
right. So how it really happens, for example, a bus owner has a Apni Bus solution with him, and bus conductor, I'm just walking you through with the first product, our hero product, I would say. For example, a bus conductor using our smart ticketing device, from which he does the ticketing of all the walking passenger in that his bus. And with the one another fact, that ticketing solution also has a seat layout number also. For example, I'm not sure if you have traveled to Indian buses or not, but a lot of times you have to travel standing only, right? You do not get a seat.
Correct.
Even you just keep waiting for the seat which will be you getting maybe at the next bus stop, and you have to fight for that seat, right? But we have implemented with that a smart ticketing solution, a smart queuing system. Now every passenger, whether he's sitting on the seat or whether he's standing in the bus, gets a seat number where he will get a seat at what bus stop, right?
Correct.
At the back end of all those things, what really happens, all of those tickets are getting punched into that smart ticketing machine, and the bus owner has a mobile app where he has the access of all those ticketing in very real time visibility, right?
Okay.
Now, just to simplify for it, at his mobile application, he can simply see at what bus station how many people are boarded, how many people are deboarded, at what price tickets are getting sold, So at the end of the day, when his conductor comes to him giving the settlement, he exactly know what amount he needs to take from the conductor, how many passengers have traveled into the buses, plus he able to track all the expenses done by the conductor and all those things as well.
Okay, so that's huge. So let's say I was a conductor, I collected 1 lakh per day of cash. I might give the bus owner only 50,000. So that's very, very huge.
No.
Now there is no cash. So everything is going through that POS device or the smart ticketing device. So me as a bus owner of the fleet, I know how much was collected. So that's one. And I guess also for the end user, if I'm not mistaken, you've also put GPS devices on all the buses.
Yeah.
So now, just like Uber, I don't have to go to a small town at the bus stop in Rajasthan and wait for 4 hours for the buses, because these buses can also be very late. Now I can see, oh, my bus is coming in 11 minutes. And by the way, if I buy the ticket on the Apni Bus app, I get a place to sit also, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So let me do one thing. Let me just break it down it to you in a very simple format. Right?
Sure.
If you look at from the bus owner perspective, right? So there's specifically 4 things what he actually is responsible for it, right? Or maybe we can say it in a manner that there's 4 section of his business, right? One is that it's a highly cash flow business, right? So you collect a lot of cash every day and you spend a lot of cash also every day, right? Because your expenses are also there, right? So one, collecting your cash and managing expenses, 2 things, right? Third is a bus which actually he's running, right? Running a bus at a particular route and all those things. And fourth and most importantly, getting a consumer or maybe a passenger demand for that particular bus or route, whatever you are playing, right? What we ended up doing at Apni Bus, we have combined all of these 4 layers in one single platform where consumer as well as the bus operator interact with each other very easily, right? For example, for ticket, for the collection side of it, for the revenue side of it, there is a ticketing solution. We actually ended up unified the entire revenue is collected throughout the day, right? And on the expenses side, we have implemented a lot of different solutions. For example, for running a bus, the major expenses happens around either on the fueling or maybe a toll taxes what he actually ends up paying it, right? So we have digitized all of those also. We have a fuel card partner with the IOCL, BPCL and few others, IOCL and HPCL, few others also all in the pipeline. So we offer access to petrol pump across India with our fuel card. Now every fueling done by the bus operator is actually done by the bus operator, not by the conductor paying in the cash. So he has a direct control over it. Similarly goes to the FASTag for the toll telling, right? Now coming to the bus segment, right? On a bus segment, we have implemented a lot of telematic solution around it. For example, there is a GPS solution, what you just talked about it, right? With the GPS solution, not only the passenger has the live tracking options, but the bus operator also has the visibility where his actually bus is right now, right?
Sure.
And that GPS actually helps us to create a very real-time dynamic route and the scheduling of that bus also, because I'm sure you also understand that buses in India does not run on time because it works very on a real-time scheduling kind of thing, right? Because of that GPS and the historical data we collect, we have been able to map the real-time schedule and the timetable around it, right? Plus there are CCTV camera into the bus to provide the safety of the buses, because again, one of the concern is that whether these buses are safe or not. Though, of course, this becomes the only mode of commute for the people, but yeah, right. And the last segment comes, which is the consumer side, getting a passenger demand into it. So we have a different solution for that also. We have one mobile booking app. Just think like an Uber, but for Bharat.
Okay, got it. So, okay, so that's a bunch of stuff that you do. What I want to do is, let's rewind to day 0.
Okay.
How and why did you decide to solve this problem for the bus owner operator? Let's go there first. Like, why did you decide to do this?
So, this goes very back, by the way. This goes somewhere around 7-8 years back. When I was starting up, I explored multiple ideas in my when I was starting up, right? One of the idea was, running a buses also, right? Because I come from a very small town of India, typically tier 3 town, below middle class family. In family like us, bus becomes the only mode of commute if you want to go anywhere. In fact, train connectivity also not great in small towns. So the bus becomes the only mode of commute. And I have traveled to buses all my life, right? I never used to like it, right? And when I was thinking about, starting up, this was one of the idea, because like I've seen myself, but a lot of other people's also struggling with their bus travel thing, right? So idea came with that, can I solve this particular problem statement? There was no idea of Apni Bus. There's no idea of, running a full stack bus operation, nothing like that. The idea was very simple. Can I solve that fundamental pain faced by every single passenger who travels into the buses, right?
Okay.
So this is where actually it started, right?
So what did you do first?
Yeah. So I knew the first thing I need to do is that I need to run a bus. Right.
Oh, so you ran a bus.
So I ran a bus,
Okay.
I think.
What route was that bus?
Yeah, so this was Delhi Jaipur route.
Okay.
In 2018 specifically, when we did a first
And
pilot.
did you like buy or rent or lease a bus, or what did you do?
So initially I thought I need to buy a bus. I
Hmm.
started exploring that. But eventually, very soon, I understood that I really don't need to buy a bus to run a bus. There are a lot of people in the market who has this bus. Why cannot I not just partner with them and start running those buses, right?
Okay.
And that's how actually we ended up getting our first bus. So I used to put a lot of queries on just dial to get a bus on one particular event.
Okay.
Right. I used to get a lead from the bus operators, and then I used to go and meet them. And somehow, finally, I convinced one guy to give me his bus to run on Delhi Jaipur route and do a pilot around it. And that's how actually we started, ended
Okay.
up running the.
So again, I know this is not your business right now. You don't run or operate buses, but you started by running that one bus. And when you say running a bus, which means that you had your conductor, your driver, you were selling the tickets online or offline at those ticket hubs, everything you were doing end to end.
Exactly. I was just not. It's just I was not the driver, but everything else I was.
Okay,
Even
I'm sure you were the conductor too.
I was the first bus conductor also. I
Oh,
used to sell
damn.
the ticket. I
Okay.
stand at the bus stand, shouted Jaipur, Jaipur, Jaipur also.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because the idea behind it was very simple. I wanted to create a bus experience for the passenger, which is purely frictionless.
Okay.
They like to travel to buses instead of maybe personal car or maybe a other thing, right? Even so, I wanted to have a conductor becomes a very critical part in your bus journey, right? And I wanted to have a very good conductor like a air host kind of thing, right? Which of course I could not find initially.
Okay.
So I ended up being that guy.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed it also.
Yeah.
And I think this was the idea was not to run the buses for a very long time. The idea was to understand about the industry at the every single pain
Yeah.
side of it.
So
right?
how long did you run the bus?
So I ran buses almost 2 years.
Oh, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years on
And during that time, were you discovering these digitization problem or this bigger problem here?
Yeah, so when I was running a buses, there are two specific things which we did when we actually ran the buses, right? One, though I have been passenger myself for all my life, right? But we got to know the mass side of the passenger also, right? For example, when we started with a very me as a passenger, right? Me right now is a metropolitan guy, right? I travel in cabs and maybe in Volvo buses, right?
Yeah.
But when I look myself, maybe 10 years back, right? I used to travel into an affordable segment buses, right? Where I may not even get a seat, right? So by running that buses that time, we got to know the spectrum of the passenger, kind of learning around it too much, right?
Okay.
And second side of the bus owner side of it, right?
Yeah.
Again, being a passenger, seen a lot of problem statement that side,
Okay.
but on the operator side, I had no clue before I started running the buses myself, right?
So after running the buses, let's say for 2 years, you stopped running that bus. What happened next? How did you test that next piece of idea with the bus owner operator? What did you build next?
So the one thing what we really understood, right, by running the buses for 2 years, right, the mass opportunity what actually lies in the Bharat, where the millions of passenger every day travels into the buses, because for them bus is the only mode of commute, right?
Correct.
And that segment is not in maybe in an urban area. It is
Correct.
the Bharat, right?
Yeah.
So when we started pivoting to Apni Bus, right? So we were primarily focused on a geography which actually give us a first-hand learning from a Bharat perspective, right?
Okay.
So we went into the Rajasthan. We went to one particular town in Rajasthan, and where actually we did our pilot, and the pilot was very simple around it. Can we simplify the life of a bus owner as well as a passenger with our technical solutions?
Okay.
Correct.
So both the bus owner and the passenger, that was the first pilot test. Now, what was that test? What did you first give the bus owner and what did you give the passenger?
It was very simple thing. Then we started with it. The only thesis was that can we digitize the inventory of that bus which is running maybe within a 50 kilometers connecting from one town to another town.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So we started giving them a smart ticketing device where he does the ticketing of all the passengers, and we have the live inventory access of that bus.
Makes sense.
And we put a GPS device into it so that we can create a real-time dynamic route for that.
And till then, they were completely doing the inventory manually, like how many
Yes.
seats we have, how many we are selling.
There was no data around it before that. It was purely
Crazy.
offline.
So
your
you
word and my word,
digitized
right?
this. Okay, understood. Okay, so you went and gave them a pay to digitize the inventory first.
Yes.
By the way, what was that first product? What did it look like? Like who built it on your team?
Yeah, so we built it ourselves only, by the way.
Okay.
So there, of course, we have a tech team with us, but that time there
No,
was only
on
day,
day
day one.
zero. Yeah.
There was only one friend who was doing a code for us, right?
Okay.
Who actually helped us to build that one particular
And
smart ticketing device.
And how long did it take for that friend who was full time or part time, that engineer, to build that first?
Yeah, it took us only 3 weeks to
3 weeks.
deploy, right?
Huh. Okay, so it was a web dashboard for the.
So there was no dashboard that time, you know. So the idea was to digitize the ticketing, right? So we got a POS device. We started building a one simple Android application which just does the ticketing around it.
Got it.
There was no fancy feature around it.
Yeah.
One simple mobile application for bus owner where he can see all the data which is getting collected by the.
So it was literally a database, digitized database
Exactly.
for the bus owner.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And what you went to, how many bus owners first in that first wave?
Of course, we met a lot of bus operators, but there's one particular route which had roughly 53 buses were running on that route.
Okay.
And within first 3 months, we ended up onboarding 45 buses out of that.
How did you onboard them? You went,
We
met them
actually
physically?
we actually went there. We
Okay.
Practically, me and my co-founders were practically there in that town for almost 3 to 6 months.
And what town was this in Rajasthan?
It was Jhunjhunu.
Jhunjhunu. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to Jhunjhunu, 53 buses on a particular route.
Yeah, so Jhunjhunu to Jaipur to be a particular route which used to have like 53 buses running on it, right? We met every single bus owner and onboarded maximum out
And
of
you
it.
told them what exactly? That you'll be able to see your whole inventory. What did you tell them?
So we told them very simple thing, right? That we want to do this kind of pilot and this might have some value proposition for you in two terms. One, your pilferage might start going down.
That's huge,
right?
because
your
that's cash.
Exactly. Your everyday business will go up, right? And secondly, you will start getting a direct visibility from the passenger side of you also.
Okay. Hey, but by the way, how, of course, the bus operator owner can mandate this to tell the conductor that this is the process now. But I'm sure there was some resistance from the conductors because they would be at the losing end of that cash, if we may say that they are pocketing.
So it is somehow still there also, right? It is still there. But I'll tell you from my end of experience of a bus conductor also. So I've been a bus conductor myself also, right? And the life of a bus conductor is very chaotic. And when he does not have any tool, everything is happening manually, right? Life becomes like very, very much chaotic, right?
You also making their life easy.
Yes, I'm supposed to do like hundreds of tickets every day. Supposed to keep the counting of every of those tickets, and those tickets are like 50 to 60 rupees. And at the end of the day, I'm supposed to give the entire accounting to my bus owner as well. And I'm sure I'll make at least couple of mistakes out of it.
So you've taken that work completely out of the equation. No
Exactly.
counting of the tickets, no
Exactly.
counting of the cash. It's
And
done.
you don't have to remember the pricing of the particular route, because just
Yeah.
imagine a bus connecting maybe 10 towns. It will have a combination of like
different prices.
different prices, right?
Correct. Okay, so you took all. Okay, that is very easy to understand. And you went to these people. By the way, were you charging them? What were you charging them? What's the business here?
So initially, of course, we did not charge anything to them, right? Because the idea was to test it out, right?
Okay.
And see what value we actually end up providing them, right? And in fact, for 1 year, we were specifically limited to only those 45 buses only. We were just iterating ourselves just to build what is the right product, right value, which actually helps the bus owner, conductor, and the passenger, right? We spent a lot of time there, and then we started figuring out the pricing model also.
Which was? Yeah.
So in simple words, what we do, we actually charge a subscription fee for our solution, right? So right now today, for example, we have a 10 different solution. For every solution, there are different pricing model. For example, smart ticketing, there's a used based subscription model, right?
Okay.
For like fuel card and FASTag and their Apni Bus travel card.
So no, back then, how much were you charging? If we go back to these first 40 odd bus owner operators, after that free phase, what did you settle on?
Yeah, initially we started charging 500 bucks a month.
500 rupees a month?
That's
per bus?
Per bus.
Per bus.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then did you ever consider moving to a per ticket thing?
Eventually we did, yeah.
Okay, so you charge something per ticket.
Today we are on that.
On the supply, okay. So you charge per ticket.
So I would say, so we had our own journey to, so there are two particular things we had to cross, right? One is to PMF, which everybody talks about, right?
And I want to come to that in a second, but what did PMF looks like? What here? It's probably number of buses, a number of bus owners using this in a particular way?
Yeah, so today it becomes a very simple definition, right? Of course, it has its own journey, but today is a very simple definition in the terms of it. How many people are, using this continuously, paying it every month, right? That gives a signal that whether it's going in a PMF direction or not, and that it's there now.
Okay.
Right.
But and again, I want to remain focused on your earliest days, but roughly how many buses are on the platform right now?
Today, roughly, we have 6,000 buses on the platform.
Okay, 6,000. So we can do some real simple math on the revenue, but I'll go back there to the first 40. What felt like the biggest bottleneck when you were trying to establish, is this useful? I won't even use the word product market fit. Very simply, is this useful? What was the bottleneck? You had that early Android app product that you guys built in 3 weeks. You had that POS for the conductor. What was the biggest bottleneck where you felt like, this is very hard to get past?
Yeah, I don't think in that particular terms, by the way.
Awesome. Okay.
Because, it is not specifically like having a bottleneck. It is, for us, it was always about, figuring out the problem, understand about it and solve it, right? We never thought specifically in the bottleneck kind of thing. Of course, one specific journey we had for ourselves, because, so far we all have seen the India specific product, right? And for the audience was totally different, right? People were like us were the audience, right? When we went into the Bharat, like, we had to learn a lot of things from scratch, right? Because the audience behave differently, pricing works differently, product works differently, right? So you have to build specifically for them. It cannot be like what we have understood that the product which actually is fit for us may not be the fit for them also.
Correct.
So you have to think it from scratch again. So this is where I think we had to do a lot of iteration to reach there.
Fair enough. And which was, I believe your first market where you got a lot of penetration was Rajasthan.
Yes,
There are probably also regional things that you had to tweak. But let's say you had to go from 40 to 1,000 bus operators. So you had 40 odd bus operators. Each bus operator on average had a few buses. We can do that math. But the point is, here the unit of decision making is that bus operator that you had to convince, right? So in going from 40 to 1,000, what did it take, by the way? Like, did you probably had people, feet on the street? Like, what did it take to get 1,000 bus operators? How many people had to go and talk to people? How many times?
So of course, as I said earlier, in Bharat, you have to think it from a very different perspective, right? By sitting here, we initially thought maybe the running ads might get us those bus operators.
Got it.
It really doesn't work. You might get attention, but the point is that Bharat is people in smaller town would like to see your face before actually giving you money, right? So they would like to have a trust factor for it, right?
They want to meet.
They want to meet you, right? So we did, of course, a lot of iteration in the sales process also, but ultimately what really worked well is the feet on the street. When a person going to the bus operator and meeting him in person and telling him that what delta it will bring in his life by using all of those things, and when he see those actually happening, that's the only thing which actually works, right?
Yeah.
And so the answer for us was very simple. As many as people we have on the ground, as many as people we speak every day on operator side, that's how we'll be able to close maximum buses out of it, right?
Okay.
So the strategy for us was very simple, and it has become much more stronger now. That
A field sales team.
Field sales
So
team.
no ads, feet on the street. By the way, you, your co-founder, yourself first, going and meeting those 40 bus operators, building the Android app for 3 weeks. All that you could do on your own, but now getting a little bit of a sales team, maybe getting a little bit of that POS devices, that could have cost money. So when did you then raise that first round of capital in that? Did you first have these 40 people and then you did it? When did you think about capital?
It was actually parallelly. So 2021, when we were pivoting from like running buses to purely Apni Bus model, we already started onboarding buses in Rajasthan. At the same time, since we knew that now we would need a capital also, since that time only we actually raised our first round of investment. That was from Antler India, and since then it has been a journey of raising a fund or running a business and all those things.
Yeah. Like you already said that this is iterative. Like whether we talk about bottlenecks or we talk about product market fit, you said this was iterative. But again, if we have to press down on that time between, let's say, 40 and 500 bus operators, when did you feel that this is this is now unlocked? Like ये खुल चुका है, ये अब चलने वाला है. When did you feel like what part of the iteration or what behavior started happening every day that you felt that yes, we have been iterating, but now this is working?
So, as I said earlier, there were two particular things we had to cross before actually we had that feeling that this is what it is, right? That is, one is the PMF, where we see the people are using that product, having that delta in their life, right? And second, and the more one of the important part was to figuring out the right pricing also. That at what price people, will be able to use this product and maybe get on board very fast, right? So we had iteration in the both of side of it, right? When we were in Rajasthan, to be specific, we were live in 4 districts by that time. We had roughly 1,000 buses on the platform. By that time, we did a lot of iteration in the product and the pricing and all those things. And by that time, actually, we started having that comfort that, boss, this is what has been picked it up. People are liking it, our product. They are okay to pay the price, what is behind it, and they are seeing a real delta around it.
And when you say real delta, what can we quantify that? What was the change?
Yes. So two particular thing on a quantifier specifically, they've started seeing more revenue coming every day because the pre-freeze has gone down, everything got digitized, right?
Correct.
Expenses got digitized, and secondly, the qualitatively in the terms of they started having a more visibility and control in their operations.
Correct.
Right. For example, today without having that visibility, it is all about your conductor, what it tells you, right?
Exactly.
You don't know.
You're
where
in the
your
blind
bus is.
completely.
You're completely blind. Now, because of that visibility, you have everything in your hand.
Understood. Okay. So the big unlock was the transparency to them, and then obviously pricing probably has been an evolving slope for you.
Exactly.
How did you meet your early co-founders, and what do they do? What do you do exactly again in those earliest days?
So, so when we started running buses, I found my first co-founder, Sumit Gupta. He's actually my college batchmate also. And when we were trying to figure out what to build, so we did a lot of iteration together, and then we eventually ended up starting running the buses. And when we were so that's about Sunny Gupta. When we were actually pivoting to Apni Bus, and that is the time we knew that we need one more co-founder with us who has a very strong expertise around the scaling of the fleet side of it, right? And it was a purely exercise to find that person, right? I used to go on LinkedIn, used to send a request to a lot of people. I met almost like 250 people in next 3 to 4 months. A lot of people said no to me. A lot of people, I said no to them. Sometimes the economics didn't work out, right? But eventually we ended up finding that guy where everything was like fitted very well. He was a very perfect fit in the terms of the business. He was very perfect fit in the terms of it, whether we liked it each other or not. We worked together for almost 2-3 months just before actually jumped on it. And we found, when we actually found our comfort, then we actually started doing it. And that person is Ravi Yadav. He comes from the background of, scaling the trucking fleet size of it to over millions of truck, plus many 1 to 10 journey of those startups. Yeah.
So Ravi Yadav. Okay, interesting. So you really had a deliberate search for this heavy ops role, which makes sense because you want to have feet on the street. You want to onboard 1 million buses, hopefully all over India, right? So Ravi Yadav came from what company?
So Ravi came from a Wheels Eye.
Wheels Eye.
Wheels Eye is the last company he worked at.
Yeah.
But Ravi has a very vast experience, right?
Got it.
He worked with the taxi for sure.
Okay. So he has very domain specific experience.
Yes.
Taxis, trucks, and now buses.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Awesome. Okay. By the way, once you figured out what you had to in Rajasthan with those bus owner operators, what was the next step then? Did you essentially, did the product get deeper? Now you were taking feedback from them about the product, or you went into like how you were earlier in the conversation saying you had to solve some other things more from the passenger side or the fuel card, etc. What was that focus early? Was it more like, let's just figure out how the bus owner and operator uses this every day, and we will wait till we get to 1,000 operators, or you guys simultaneously started experimenting with these other tangential problems?
So two specifically thing what happened when we started having that feeling that we found some PMF, then the two specific things started happening. Given what we are talking about the Bharat market, right? And Bharat is all about having a different regionalities, right? So the one thing was very clear that this works in Rajasthan, whether this will work in the other states also or not, right? So the one obvious call we took, right? Whatever worked in Rajasthan, we started taking to other states. For example, we started going to Haryana, Punjab, Himachal, UP, and MP. So first we started expanding to those states, started seeing all of those learning, did some little bit tweaking around the regional learning around it, right? That's one thing. And eventually when we started seeing a comfort around it, or those also, this is the product we actually works in a different regionalities, then the next steps comes in, right? How you add a different value layer out above the fundamental layer what we actually needed providing, right? And this is where we started exploring multiple product layer also. So it happened in a step by step. First one regional context, then we took that regional context to other regionals, and then we started topping up with the different layer of products also.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks a lot for chatting about the earliest days of Apni Bus. Actually, I'm taking away 2, 3 very tangible things about what people need to do if they're getting into these highly non-digitized spaces. But thanks for chatting, and hopefully you go from 6,000 to 60,000 buses very soon.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Raj.
Sumit.
Thank you so much for
Thanks.
having me here.
Thanks.
I loved it.
Bye. Hey, just finished talking to Sumit, the founder of Apni Bus, and want to do a quick insights recap. So, a few things that jumped out at me. One is that if you're working with a very physical, non digitized sector in Bharat, like buses, uh, not a lot is going to happen through paid GTM or digitized ads. There is a lot of in-person feet on the street. So that is one thing that jumped out at me. Very related point is if you notice the team, the team is sort of well-rounded and focused on this. For instance, Ravi, who comes from Wheels Eye, is used to building large ground teams, and that's what's required here. Third, and actually probably the most important thing, is Sumit, the founder, was pretty obsessed with this problem way before we start talking about where the business is today. Like all the way from running the buses for 2 years to thinking of digitizing and talking to bus owners and operators. It's kind of obsessed with that problem, which is obviously not unique to this company, but it's amazing how always that makes an exponential difference in founders building very long lasting companies, which is they've been obsessed with that particular problem for a very long time.